Flosstube. It's Karen, recovering monogamous stitcher. I'm back with Flosstube video number 43. Today is Friday, April 26th, 2024. I'm back in my sewing room, so happy to be here, facing a pile after pile of mess. I'll talk about that later. If you're a returning viewer, thank you so much for coming back. I'm happy to have you here. If you're brand new and you've just found my channel, welcome. I hope you see something you like. I want to make clear how much I really appreciate you taking time to spend with me, because there are so many floss tubes out there, and you can choose to spend your time with anyone you want. And for those of you who've chosen to visit with me, I really, really appreciate it. Thank you so much. And I hope you will like and subscribe the video. It really helps my channel. It helps it to pop up in someone else's feed, and I can come across new viewers that way. Thank you. Okay, and speaking of so many floss tubers, I have one to recommend to you, one who's new to me, and I'm hoping to meet her in Cincinnati. Her Flosstube channel is called Hobbies of Holly. Her name is Holly, and her stitching is very similar to mine. We like many of the same things. She's going to be going to the Nicola Parkman meeting in Cincinnati in first week in May, and I'm hoping to meet her there. And I hope you'll stop by and give her a little love and see what she's been up to. She does some wonderful work. So that's Hollies of Hobby. Okay, there were some comments on the last video that I would like to talk about. Several of you gave me hints for car sewing, because, you know, the long drive from Florida back to Kentucky, it was 14 hours. I can't stitch in the car. It doesn't make me sick or anything. I just can't see, and the needle bounces and so forth, so I don't even try anymore. But there were some really good suggestions for sewing in the car. One was, several people. One person gave a couple. She said she takes a wool piece because she can stitch on the wool in the car. That's a great suggestion. I don't have any wool projects, but that's a great suggestion. Sew binding onto a quilt. Now that would have been perfect if I'd had a quilt with me, but I didn't. And someone else suggested that I could use the time in the car to unpick my mistake in Little Red Chair Sampler. And I wish I had read that before we left, because I would have done that. I think I could have done that. So those are some ideas for you if you're not a car stitcher, but you don't want to waste your time in the car. Think about some of those things. Thanks so much for those suggestions. Okay, let's dive right in. I have so much to show you. I'm back with the quilt. I'm going to talk about that at the end, so if you're not interested in the quilt, you can cut out when I'm done with the cross stitch. I've had new starts. I've had 5 new starts since the last Flosstube. It's like, I don't know what was wrong with me, but I just had startitis, and I went with it, so I did a lot. Okay, so here's my book of days. I only had 1 day of no stitching, and that was the actual driving day from Kentucky. The day before when we packed, and the day after I did get an hour in, so I count that as stitching. So just 1 day of no stitching, and I have several things checked off. These are my monthly goals. The focus piece, 7 days, checked off. The red sampler, 3 days. I got my total of 3 days, so I've checked that off. I'm now going to finish out the month on Forget Me Not. I'll show you that in a bit. And then there are some other optional things at the bottom. And this month, because I did so many starts, I won't get to any of those optional things. So that's the book of days. I've got to find the cover and close it. Okay. Okay, fully finished objects, none. But I did take 5 pieces to the framer. So next time I should have pieces to show you framed. And I'm so excited about them. The two that, the frames especially, they were brand new. They brought in a bunch of new, what do you call it, whatever you call those wood slats for framing, they had several new things I'd never seen before. I'm really excited to show you Dancer, and I'm really excited to show you the Strawberry Bird by Blue Flower that I stitched for my daughter. I just think I found the perfect match for that. So I'll show those to you next time. So no FFOs for this video. I have one fully finished object stitching. Of course, it's not a FFO, but it's a finished object. That's what it is, not a fully. Okay, I started and finished Counting is Hard. And this is by Luminous Fiber Arts, Misty Purcell. This is my second time stitching this one. Last year I sewed this and finished it as a stand-up and used that as my smalls exchange at StitchCon. And I had wanted it for myself and jumped into it and did it. This is stitched on, let me see, 16 count Aida that I coffee dyed myself. It started as a white Aida, and I just was messing around, seeing what I could do with coffee dye, and that's what I came up with, and I like that. So that's and I used all DMC floss on that. So I'm going to finish that as a flat fold for myself also. So that gets added to my pile of things that I have to fully finish. We'll talk about that later. Okay, so that out of order, that's a fully finished stitch. So now I'll go through my whips in the order that I stitched them. Last time I showed you Margaret Doyle, and I did some more stitching on Margaret Doyle. This is a Hands Across the Sea design. It was an exclusive for Shakespeare's Peddler, also known as Kitten Stitcher. I am stitching it on 40 count Eureka by Fox and Rabbit, and I'm using all the DMC floss equivalents. And it really is lovely. That border, those flowers in that border are just lovely. And I got down to the little boy. I've started the little boy, and I'm rethinking. At first I thought he was reading a book, and now that I see that the one arm is bent up, I'm wondering if it's supposed to be a bowl of something in his lap and he's eating something. I don't know. Anyway, big mystery. But Margaret Doyle by Shakespeare's Peddler, by Hands Across the Sea. Okay, and I said I had startitis, and I really did. I had limited number of things with me in Florida, and just by happenstance, I had gotten this one kitted for, you know, something when I'm ordering something that I need, and then I look at my wish list, and okay, what else? I'll get 2 things, and so I ended up, by the time I finished, I had this one all kitted. So this is Gott, 1848, from, I think it's Needlework Press. Look at your notes, Karen. Okay, yes, Needlework Press. I'm stitching this on 46 count caramel macchiato linen from Fiber on a Whim, using all the classic Colorworks threads. They're over dyes. And I'm doing some changes on this. And I think I specifically said when I got this, I wouldn't change it because it was reproduction, but I'm going to change it because I'm going to. This is my start. I just got going on the border. I like the fabric. I think the fabric is beautiful, and it's a great match to what the finished looks like. Now in the pattern, some options are provided. They provide options charted different, instead of ant, they have a variety of other things, my mother, my father, sister, brother, etc., and several others. And then they also offer, where's that verse? There's a little verse, find happiness in simple things, that can go in instead of a present to my dear aunt. And that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to put that little verse in there. And down here, I'm going to be putting in my name and year. I mean, I'll put hers also, but I'm going to put my name and the year I stitched it. And that decision came kind of out of listening to Nicola Parkman recently. Her discussion, she had that interview with Becky Scott, Whitney Antiques, and they discussed the importance of needleworkers putting their identifying information on a sampler so it is not passed off as an actual antique sampler at some point in time. And then in her last couple video, I went back to look at the numbers, and I'm thinking it was in both of the videos she had mentioned something about it in number 362 and 363. The latest one that came out this week, about the importance of the stitcher putting their identifying information on the piece. And as she's talking about that, I'm thinking, well, you know, the border of the fabric that gets wrapped around in the frame, I could easily do that. And then she specifically said, you know, if you do that, it may be sold and someone wouldn't notice that until or unless they took it out of the frame. And so, well, okay. So I'm going to start rethinking that as I'm doing samplers. You know, I do them as reproductions, so I don't want to change the body of the work, but I could easily just outside the border put initials or name and year so that it's clearly identified. Anyway, if you've listened to that and thought about that, you have different ideas about that, let me know. I've thought about that kind of long and hard because I had been pretty adamant, if I'm doing a reproduction, it's going to be a reproduction and I'm not going to stick something in it and change it. I want it to look like the antique. So, but Nicola has me thinking that over again. So let me know what you think. Are you going to start doing that, or do you always do that? Let me know. I just think that would be an interesting discussion to have. And it's an important one, I think, for needleworkers. So I've started Gott. And that was my little tangent on Nicola. Okay, another new start, Peaceful Kingdom by Little Robin Designs. I've shown you this before, and I was going to start it in Florida and whipped it out thinking I had it kitted, and the fabric was too small. So, as I said, when I get home, I know I have fabric. Well, I have fabric, so I got a little start on that. I think that was a day. So it won't take too long to finish this. So this is my next red sampler. I'm going to finish out the red sampler, and I will get back to Keeper of the Pins as I get the other colors I need for the other little pillows. I did the 2 pillows that were virtually entirely red, except there were tomatoes, and then I had green leaves on the tomatoes. So anyway, that's my new red sampler. Another new start. Oh, and I'm stitching this. Let me tell you the details. 40 count ivory linen by Wichelt, so it's not over dyed, it's just an ivory linen, and I'm using DMC 115, which is the variegated DMC thread. I don't know if you can catch any of that variegation, but it's very nice. So that's that. Another new start. I started My Home Sweet Home, Brenda Gervais. Oops, let me show the pillow that way. But Brenda Gervais. And I am using Katie Strachan's original silk conversion. I've got a thread hanging here. So I can't share that with you, but this is stitched on 38 count Himalayan fog. And I got the kit from the attic. I don't know if they have it anymore. But that was a day's start. Maybe, no, I think I stitched a couple days on that. Maybe a day and an afternoon or something like that. So I have a nice little start on that. The silks are lovely. Another new start. I had talked about Sarah's Stitchy Spot. She talked about doing the Beatles Mystery Tour. Sal. So anyway, I'm started, and I said I had them, and I do. I have the 3 remaining. I have 3 completed on my wall, framed and on my wall, and I have the last 3, the Long and Winding Road, and I have Octopus's Garden and Yellow Submarine, and those are kitted and ready to go. So this is the one I started, the Long and Winding Road, and this is stitched on 36 count fabric, and it's meant to fit, of course, in this, in that shaker box, that 6-inch shaker box. So if you are interested in doing that, you of course can't change the count of the fabric. I wish I could do that, but I'll do something round. Started the road and the house, and I was stitching in the afternoon, and I had a Zoom call Wednesday evening with my Central Kentucky stitchers, so I thought, well, I'll finish the fill-in on the call, and I did. And then I went to get the next color and realized I had stitched the wrong color on the house. So you see where it's all light, it's sort of blue and white, That's the wrong blue. This is the correct blue. And that chimney and that stripe, I discovered it while I was on the Zoom call, and we had a little discussion about it, and the collective wisdom of the group said, stitch over it. So I am. I'm just going to stitch over those blues. And someone said, it'll give it a little more dimension. So I'm going to go with that. They were 2 adjacent numbers, like 168 and 169 or something like that, and I just did the wrong one. So I'll get that fixed. Again, fix. There's a theme there. My fix is Long and Winding Road. Blackbird Designs, so I read all that information. Oh, and the mystery tour here. The sales. Here's the information on the Magical Mystery Tour and the Fab 4 fan sale, and the people to tag to let them know that you're participating. So you can screenshot that if you're interested in that. So that's fun. Doodles forever. Okay. Forget-Me-Not, and of course you've heard about this ad nauseum, but if you're new here, you may not know. Katie Strachan did a beautiful box. She covered the box with beautiful embroidery and or cross-stitching, and has shared the method with us based on modern folk embroidery forget-me-not pattern. And I am at the point now where I am doing the, okay, here's my actual pattern. Across the front, this is the front of the box. Here's the center line, here's the front of the box. Then this side goes on that side of the box, and that side folds on that side of the box, and this folds at the top. And here's my piece. And I started the initials on this side. Earlier, I had gotten feedback, and people suggested that I do them in order. So I'm going to do them in order. So I've started here. My daughter's on the top. I'll be the very back. My mother will be here. My grandmother will be here. And this is my great and great great. Very interesting. I mean, my cousins did the research on my family. I didn't do it, so I'm just taking what they gave me. And PB, we do not have a birth name for her. That's B is her married name, Bennett. But her name is Philinda, P-H-I-L-I-N-D-A. Have you ever heard of that name? I never had. That's very different. And then wait till we get to my grandmother's name, and I think that's different too. So we have PB 50. Now, they did not know, apparently, they put 50 for the year that 1850 was the year that she was born. But how did they know that that was the year she was born and they didn't have the birth name? I don't know. Or if that was hinted at or something, I don't know. Anyway, so that's what that. And then this is my great, and this is Emma Bennett Burroughs, and I'm starting to get her birth year in here. That's going to be 74 for 1874. And then I'll go on with my grandmother in the spaces here, and then my mother over here. So, and then I'm ready to do the back. Whew. And when I get done with my mother's, I'll be able to fill in some smaller motifs to finish filling the space. I did not want to put the small motifs in until I have her information in, because of course I don't want to run out of room. And this is stitched on 37 count Russian tea cake by Legacy, using Soie Gobelin 0671, that's the charcoal color, and Accentuate 021, which is the gold sparkle, which is a huge pain in the rear to stitch with. You know, it's like Kreinik or any of that stuff. It's like, I don't know. I might have chosen something else. But it's beautiful, it sparkles, you know, but sometimes I just do 2 stitches and it already starts shredding. I go, start again. And I keep making shorter strands so it doesn't get so much abrasion, but it's still, anyway, pain in the neck. So that's Forget-Me-Not. And again, whipped right through that. So that's the stitching I've done in the 2 weeks. My haul, none, absolutely zero, because I was in the dead zone. I couldn't order anything when I was in Florida. I think last time I showed you a PDF I had downloaded, so that counted as my haul last time. Okay, so my plans moving forward, I have 5 projects that I need to pin and lace because the frames are ordered and they're going to be in. So I want to get those pinned and laced, ready to go. I might get a call on Monday or Tuesday to go get them finished off. So I want to get those done. That's my top priority right now. I owe 4 more days to the Forget-Me-Not. I'm hoping I can get those letters done on that section. It's was slow going. That was a whole day of stitching, what I showed you, a whole day. I mean, I stitched all day that day. I didn't have interruptions. I didn't have errands to do or any appointments. I mean, once I did my chores around the house, I sat down and stitched all day till dinner time. And anyway, that's that. And then I need to prepare for going to Nicola's classes in Cincinnati. I'm looking forward to that. Next Friday, a week from today, we'll be going to Cincinnati. Looking forward to meeting Nicola and learning something from her, and meeting some stitchers. I'm hoping to meet Grace, the Paisley stitcher, Holly, Hobbies of Holly, and there was another viewer, I think from West Virginia, who let me know I'm going to be there, and I said, please introduce yourself. I want to meet you. And I don't know her name, and I'm sorry about that. So I'm looking forward to meeting some new people. That'll be fun. It should be very valuable. Okay, that's it for the cross stitch, and I will talk about the quilt that is behind me. This featured quilt is called September Sunrise, and the designer was Debbie Caffrey. And I must have printed this off, and I didn't have a color printer, so it doesn't look very exciting. But it's 62 inch by 62 inch. And I got it from Craftsy, the pattern and the fabrics I got from Craftsy. That was in 2017. It's copyrighted 2016, but my label on the back says I finished it in 2017. So right in that time, I worked on this. So I'm going to disconnect the fabric, disconnect the camera. So if you're queasy, just give it a minute and I'll let you know when you can look, and I will show you the close-up of the quilt. Okay, now I can't see what you're seeing, so I have to kind of look around. Okay, so the fabrics, as I said, I ordered from Craftsy, so I didn't have to go out and search for those colors, and I love them. I love that dark purple. I think it was called eggplant or something. This pattern used templates, and I looked to see if I have the templates. I don't remember if they were cardboard templates or plastic templates, but I flipped through my instructions and it calls for the templates. And I don't have them to put my hands on right now. But Debbie Caffrey is a very good teacher. She teaches really efficient ways to cut and efficient ways to sew things together. Her plan was very, very explicit on which way to press the seams. I always appreciate that because to me it's not intuitive to me which way I should press seams. So she's a great teacher. I've taken, I'm thinking I had 2 online classes with her, and about efficient cutting and efficient piecing, and she's a very good teacher. So if you have a chance to take a class from Debbie Caffrey, she's great. This was quilted entirely using a pantograph, and a pantograph is where you have a paper pattern that lays on the table on the back of the long arm quilting table, and there's a red laser light on the back of the machine head, and you trace that pattern, and that's what steers the head of the machine to make the design. And it sounds very easy, but it is not. It's deceptive. As I'm sidestepping along behind the quilt, you know, when you move your feet, it jerks your hands, and then you've made a jerk spot on the pantograph. And so I tried to do always, but it doesn't always work as you're working across, and I can't remember where the row started. Let's say it starts here. So as you're moving along as far as you can reach, I look for a point place where I can just stop, needle down, and then move my feet, and then start again and go. And so that's what I try to do, but it doesn't always work. So that is September Sunrise, Debbie Caffrey. This hangs behind our dining room table in the fall. And when we came back, I just took it down because it was up there when we left in the fall. I didn't change it out when we were here a short time this winter. And so this one came down, put it up here for you to see, and I put up the butterfly quilt that granddaughter and I worked on. So that's what we have up in the summer behind the dining room table. So that's the quilt this time. Hope you enjoyed that. And that's all I have for you today. I will see you again in a couple of weeks, and I will be able to report to you about my Queen City Sampler Guild classes with Nicola. I'm really looking forward to that. And I will have more stitching to show you. So have happy stitching days, Flosstube, and see you in 2 weeks. Bye-bye.